All great actors for film started on stage. The stage is the foundation for acting.
Because my teachers in New York City would say the same thing, also demand vulnerability, and you have a very different approach. You use the words, allow it.
I cry better than you. That's not something a baby would say. Getting rid of all social behavior, allowing everything to happen to you as a baby would allow, that's a fundamental principle. Hi, Zsolt.
Hi, Martin. Thanks for joining me on the call.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been now, 3 years? Almost 4?
4 years since we last met in person. Yeah, you went to the US afterwards to go to some other Meisner places.
And I did the 5-day intensive with you in January, right before COVID started. And then I did the whole first year with you.
Yeah. And we had some small online sessions between the two. You wanted me as a private tutor online.
That's right. Forgot about that. Things have changed. It's been so long since that happened. So, tell me where you are now and where have you been in the past 4 years?
I've been teaching at the Taiwanese studio where we met. So I've been teaching your year, and after that, we now 5 years onwards since I opened the studio with Ridian. And I teach on and off once a year, 3 months at this moment. Mm-hmm. We're still existing. We're still in good shape.
In Taipei.
In Taipei.
And Ridian was the big Taiwanese actor star / Chinese star. He helped you start the studio, if I remember.
Yeah, and he's co-owner of the studio, and he's still very much dedicated in developing and making steps and helping the students.
Yeah. And then one of our chats, now you've taken over the studio in Amsterdam, so you split your time between Taipei and Amsterdam?
Yeah, it's actually not in Amsterdam. I live in Amsterdam, but the studio is in a city called Den Bosch, which is a little bit outside of Amsterdam. The Netherlands is not very big, so it's not far away regardless. Okay. And at the same time, I'm setting up now courses in Amsterdam because, of course, if I can eliminate the commuting, that will be very helpful.
Yeah, because that's something that's really important to you is efficiency, maximizing, cramming in as much as you can in a short time. I say that with fondness because that was something that really struck me, that in the 5-day intensive and the course that I did with you in Taipei, is that as soon as we walked in, as soon as the 6 o'clock started, it turned 6 o'clock, then we were starting with the exercises and starting in with the classwork. There was very little downtime, very little wasted time.
People have very, very busy lives. You know, you have a family, you have work. There's so many things that we want to do. So I think to one another in something that a class is not social time. If you want to hang out with friends, go hang out with friends. If you want to hang out with classmates, you're welcome. But in class, I really like a professional atmosphere where people, like on a set, you're not there to make chit-chat. It might be different in various places. I'm not sure how it is like in Hungary.
I haven't done training here in Hungary, but compared to New York City, not every teacher, but it is very specific to a teacher. A lot of teachers I've worked with enjoy doing icebreakers and group time and sharing circles, and that can take 30 minutes before you even start the actual technique. So, but you were not like that.
No. I think a class should be like industry, to create a professional environment. What you do in class, you will probably also do outside of class. So if you're late, you will probably also be late on set. And then you will just have a very short career. And that's what I want to avoid. I want my actors to develop themselves as a professional actors, well trained, and nobody should be complaining about them, about their work ethics.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to make people aware of.
Charlie Sandlin, my teacher and Maggie Flanagan in New York City, he also had that approach. But some of the other teachers were much more lackadaisical. But anyways, so you're going to be teaching the 5-day intensive, leading it. Can you tell me, or the people who are going to watch this call, what is the 5-day intensive? Why is it of interest? And just what does it entail for the actor?
Maybe it's good to say something about the structure of the Meisner training altogether and what the 5-day workshop focuses on. The first year of the Meisner training is about you, and it's about listening, and not only with your ears, but with your entire body. So intuition is part of that, but it's like really, how is someone listening? How is someone talking to me? What are they actually saying? Are they saying I love you, or are they saying, when they say I love you, I hate you, or I despise you, or I want to be with you? So there's many levels that you can listen to someone, and you need to be aware of all the subtext that is there, because ultimately as actors you need to be aware of behavior. So that's the first year of the Meisner training, that's about that basically. And the second year is not about you anymore, but it's about the character. So you add layers to your straight behavior, to the person that you are. You add layers to that in order to make a transformation. Now, I won't. Maybe we talk later about the second year, but let's focus now on the first year. It's divided in 3 parts. The first part is impulses, and it's very crude and very rudimental work, foundational work, to let out what is inside of you, to process an experience into sound and movement. That's a one-liner from Williamson, the movement teacher. So don't leave anything inside. So that's the first block of the first year. Then the second block is about your emotional life, what makes me happy, sad, or angry. And then the third block is about relationships. Can I change in the relationship to someone else? Because relationships always change. And in the first intensive, it's actually a condensed version of the first 18 classes, which is focusing on allowing impulses to come out. So what we do is basically we start with, lots of people know it, not a lot of people know how it works. We start with the repetition exercise. And the repetition exercise is about responding to what's given to you by your partner. Yeah. And giving back what you receive. And from that you bounce impulses you eliminate basically your head. So if you're in your head and you suffer from that as an actor, this is an approach that would actually work to get rid of that.
Yeah. And I think this is a good time to mention your specialty as a teacher, I think, and Paul, is the honoring of vulnerability.
Vulnerability. I think it is Stanislavski who says vulnerability is the most important tool for the actor. So you need to nurture that. And in order to nurture that, you need to feel safe. You need to feel in an environment that is non-judgmental and that is secure, and where you can let out any type of emotions without really judging yourself or feeling being judged by anyone in the room.
But I'm going to press again, because I know you're a humble person, that you offer this specifically as a teacher, because my teachers in New York City would say the same thing. And from the Hungarians I've spoken to here, also demand vulnerability and judge you based on your vulnerability or your inability to be vulnerable. And you have a very different approach of, you use the words, and it comes up often when I'm doing my self-tapes or my personal work, is allow it, or it's okay. You can allow it, the emotion that's coming up. And the way you create space for the actor, the two people working, to live out that experience, whether it makes sense for the audience or it doesn't. You know, you weren't judging what was coming up. In New York, and I think my suspicion of some of the teachers here is they are very results orientated, as I think you put it, because we've talked about this before.
Yeah, and I'm not really aware of this difference because I don't sit in other people's classes so often. But I hear a lot from people taking any acting class that they feel pressured, that they hear very often, you need to be spontaneous, you need to work moment to moment. Well, basically, I never say this. Because it makes you self-aware when you say something like this.
Exactly. But you use another word, another key phrase that I often hear from you is, it's an invitation.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you talk with the actors and you're working through the scenarios or the circumstances, and you can see that the actor is having a block, that you're inviting them to go through that emotion without going into therapy, because that's another thing that sometimes can be misleading with the Meisner technique, and training in New York becomes very therapeutic and like a group therapy session. But with you, it's very much working through the blocks so that to allow the work to happen, if that's accurate.
Yeah. Invitation. Definitely. The other word that people often use is, it's a challenge. You know, and if you feel like it's a challenge, you have the feeling that you need to achieve something, that you need to be good, that you need to perform, that you need to push something. And that's the opposite of all good acting. So there is no challenge. There's only an invitation to do something and to allow something and to have an experience. And an experience is never good or bad. Because it's an experience. You cannot say, well, your sadness wasn't really good because blah, blah, blah. You know, if it's real sadness, it's sadness. So there's no judgment in the quality of the sadness unless it's being pushed or faked. But even that, to a certain extent, is allowable in the 5-day work. Not to push it, but to give space to something.
Yeah.
You know, I was just having an interview with a student, and she said something about impulses. What did she say? And it was interesting. She said, follow your impulse. And you hear that often, but I think it's more important to allow impulses. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't follow them. It seems like it's something to pursue, but if I talk to you now, I see impulses. You know, and the invitation is, okay, let it out, give it a sound, give it a movement. Don't feel judged by whatever comes out. If you open your mouth, it probably won't make sense, and that's okay.
And again, that's maybe the reiteration for a 5-day intensive. The first 18 classes of the Meisner Technique. The second year is maybe not controlling the impulses, but layering them to fit this character's point of view.
Yeah, adding layers to your straight behavior.
Straight behavior. Can you explain that? What that means?
It's very dangerous to talk about the baby state. But as an actor, you need to be wide open as a baby, in a sense that you don't have any judgment. Babies don't have judgments. Babies, they want to have attention, they want to have food, they have sometimes pain, and they want to be nurtured, but they don't want to be the best. You know, I cry better than you. That's not something a baby would say. So getting rid of all social behavior and allowing everything to happen to you as a baby would allow. I think that's a fundamental principle. And if you are totally open, we call it all your your actions, all your doing is straight behavior without filters from social conditions.
Right.
And that's what you need. Get rid of the manipulation. Lots of people manipulate, smile, all the social smile. That's so painful. And it's such a
I'm very good with the social smile.
yeah. And to get rid of that, then lots of things start to happen.
And some of the actors I've heard, or the teachers, use this word for mask. You use the word social behavior. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a matter of preference. But social behavior means everything. Well, what is social behavior? Social behavior helps you to get through the day. And it's very important. We need to have social behavior to cope with all types of circumstances. You cannot scream and yell or be happy or just without any filter. You need to function on a daily basis, and social behavior helps with that. But the Meisner training is a deconditioning training. It deconditions you from all your conditions that are brought to you by culture and by upbringing. Therefore, it is helpful to have conditions first before you take the training. I wouldn't recommend anyone being around 12 or under 18 to take a training like this, because you first need to have conditions to function on a daily basis before you can develop yourself as an actor and get rid of all the social behavior. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise you just become a prick.
And I have theories about that for why New York is so chaotic. I like to tell people that there are too many actors who did the first year of Meisner and then stopped, and they took that into their day-to-day lives, and they just go around yelling at each other in the streets.
I've been working for 5 years now in Taiwan, and what I find very interesting is that people struggle with being powerful. And, allowing yourself to be sad is one thing, allowing yourself to be angry is another thing, but to be powerful is something special. And I've been more and more focusing and being aware of, okay, allow yourself to be powerful. Don't hold back. And I think that's a very valuable thing, especially in these first 18 classes or this 5-day workshop that we do, that you don't hold back whenever there's an impulse, and allow yourself to be powerful. And I think we both were aware of the numbness that sometimes happens in Taiwan, that people freeze when they get emotional because it's somehow wired with fear. And I think being afraid of being powerful is one thing that really blocks people and freezes them and makes them very aware of themselves and very uncomfortable.
Just to clarify on being powerful, I think you also, that can mean like holding your ground, demanding to be heard, demanding that your opinion be acknowledged, maybe.
Yeah, that you make sure that other people hear you.
Yeah.
And that you listen. It's you need to be in a second circle. Another concept that I recently read a little bit more about. But you need to be in a connection with other people. Don't just yell and scream, because that's in the third circle, and you're just losing yourself, and you're very lonely because nobody's listening to someone that's only yelling. And you don't need to be self-absorbed in the first circle, but you always need to be in the connection with other people, which is what we have now.
Yeah, but as if you have an emotion that you feel angry and you express that and the other person dismisses it, it's that power. No, you didn't hear me. I'm angry with you. you need to understand that I'm angry. And instead of, because a lot of people, culturally, we are socially conditioned to step back. Oh, I shouldn't be angry. I'm wrong because I'm angry. And this work creates space for you to have that complete right, that complete space to express yourself. And then what's really fun with doing the repetition is you might be bright red like a tomato, and then a couple moments later, you're giggling like a baby, like a newly fallen in love romantic partner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just mentioning the baby as a metaphor. I mentioned Stanislavski already, like the foundational father of all modern acting. He was called himself the baby because he could cry, be angry, and be happy in 1 minute on a very very deep and intense level. And I think that's the babies. That's also the part of the metaphor,
Right.
the meaning of the metaphor. Yeah.
Meisner Technique is often referred to as too conversational. It's not useful for modern day plays and movies. And the follow up with that is the Meisner Technique, in your opinion, applicable to both camera work, or is it strictly a theatrical technique?
I think all great actors for film started on stage. There's no great actor like a star that started from television and no, they all started on stage. I think stage is the foundation for acting. Because stage demands you to use your entire body, whereas camera only requires you to use your face, and you don't have a body, so you don't support. So if you work with camera only, you don't support what's happening inside of you with your body, which is necessary. And I think, in essence, there's not a real distinction between theater acting and camera acting. In the end, it's allowing to have an experience and to process the experience and to allow an impulse to come out. And you need to do that both on stage and on camera. And for camera, there are some technical difficulties that you need to work with, of course. But it is not really such a big deal, you need to know a little bit about angles and about where to stand, but you learn that on the job, I would say. What was the other question?
The other one was Meisner Technique is often referred to as conversational, and it's not really useful for today's plays and films.
There's so many things that I can say about that. In Meisner training, there are two concepts. There's a concept of the here and now. We call it acting fundamentals. And there's a concept of the homework. And that's everything that you prepare before you hear action. And acting fundamentals is about being in the moment, really listening, really responding, impulses to let out, all the things that happen in the here and now, all the things that you cannot prepare. And the Meisner training trains that, especially in the first year, on a very profound level. And it's always relevant, it's always active, it always applies. Because if you don't listen, if you don't respond, if you don't work moment to moment, there's no acting, the acting is off. And like we are doing now, I see the way you talk, you look at me, we're really having a connection.
Right.
Am I pushing now? Am I too conversational now? I make sure that you understand what I want to say. And then the other thing is the homework, which is connecting with all the circumstances, the time that you live, the other person, your objective, all the things that add meaning to a scene. Mm-hmm. And you prepare for all that. And once you're prepared for that, you forget about it and you hear action and you just go with the flow. And it will give its response in the moment or not. Mm-hmm. And if it's there, it's good. If it's not there, it's also good. I don't think that's conversational. I think you can go very, very deep with the Meisner training, just like any other acting technique, basically, you know. It's just a very thorough, step-by-step program to learn all the tools that you need as an actor.
Yeah. For some reason, when it's taught in universities, when it's only done for 3 months, they only get through that first 18 and they don't get into the further things. And what I keep trying to tell, when I share Meisner and people scoff and roll their eyes and they say it's conversational, I'm like, it's not, because it's just a very, at least the William Esper version that took on to Paul Decker and that you've taught me, and also what I experienced at Maggie Flanagan. It's just a very, very step-by-step progressive way to build up to scene work, character work, and monologues.
I have this book here. Where do I have it? From Stanislavski. You know, it's a fist thick. I can't find it. Well, you know, I don't know a lot of people that actually read it, but the people who read it, they all agree with me that you cannot really read it because it's so full of all kind of little details. But he has good insights, but he doesn't have a real way to apply it into a training, to change it into a training. And I think Meisner really managed to create a training that includes all steps or all tools that Stanislavski teaches you into a very step-by-step 2-year program.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the training, but it is a very, very firm foundation.
And Charlie Sandlin in New York would often refer to as building the framework for a house. So you have the walls, you have the roof, you have the floor, and then what you do with that after is up to you. But the Meisner gives you a basic structural foundation for you to build upon as an actor.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And then one last thing that I was going to ask. So in this 5-day intensive, we'll start with the repetition. Are we going to get to scene work?
Yeah, we also do a scene. Actually, we work 3 days on the scene. Yeah.
3 days on the scene. So and then
yeah, I wouldn't call it scene work. I would call improvisation on a written text, which is what should apply for any text that you work with. You know, if you of course you work with the meaning and what I'm saying and what is the other person, blah blah blah. But once you hear action or once the curtains go up, you forget all that and you work moment to moment,
right.
And you improvise on a written text.
So just in a quick, we go from repetition in an activity, and then into the whatever you just said, something on text.
Improvisation on a written text, bouncing impulses. I look very much forward to start teaching in Hungary, and I'm very curious what it will be like to get to know a different type of crowd. You know, I've been working in Asia, now in the Netherlands, and with you in Hungary.
Let's follow up one more. I still have a little time for this, because you don't speak Mandarin, do you?
No, I don't speak Mandarin.
But most of the class in Taiwan speaks Mandarin, and they don't speak English.
Yeah.
So how does that? You have a translator. At least from my experiences with working with you, you had a translator. So you still have a translator. Do you see, for the Hungarians, that most of the Hungarians are pretty good with their English, but if they don't have the language skills to listen to you in English, we will have someone to speak in Hungarian. And then, but they can. Would you want them to work in English, or would you want them working in Hungarian with their other partner? And does that affect their training working with you?
Well, I would pair people according to their language skills. So if you speak Hungarian, you should be working with someone that also speaks better Hungarian. So you can work from the impulse, because the impulse quality only emerge if you don't have to think. And if you need to think about the words you're going to use, you're already in your head and you're already gone. So I would pair people so in order that they can use the language of their preference. Yeah. And then someone is sitting next to me and they tell me what is actually happening, and I coach on that.
Yeah.
In English. And I can coach a little bit in Chinese now, but I won't do that in Hungary.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Martin.